So we've talked about this a bunch, but it seems to me that President Obama wants it every which way on marijuana. In December, he did something pretty good. He basically told the Justice Department that the feds will no longer get involved with the states' rights related to medical marijuana. Okay, that's pretty solid. Then just a couple days ago, he had the Department of Justice filed a defense of marijuana's classification as a Schedule I drug. That is the same classification that heroin has. We've got a statement from the Assistant Attorney General. This is Gregory Broderick. He said this psychoactive addictive drug is not accepted as safe for medical use at this time, even with medical supervision. So you really need to kind of wrap your brain around what's going on here. The states are passing this thing one at a time. It's happening just like gay marriage. It's all good. There are people that have cancer and AIDS and all kinds of other diseases that are using this for medicinal purposes, and they're not having all the horrible side effects that all the big pharma drugs are giving them. Then Obama's on one hand saying, okay, the feds aren't going to get involved, and then on the other hand is saying the complete reverse. What that quote is the complete reverse of what the actual facts and science are. I really don't understand this about President Obama, and I think this is something where he is failed epically, actually, because it's such terrible mixed messaging. Please explain to me what he's up to here.
Well, what he's up to is, hopefully, is that thing that your parents do, or you're like, he's like, don't, I'm gonna say this, but like when it's just us hanging out, that I'll tell you what I really feel. So he then turns to the camera and goes, we at the federal government believe that marijuana is terrible for reasons of probably elections and voting. Okay, cut. All right, so if you want to smoke weed, just don't get caught. That's what it is.
And I get it, and that's what he did with gay marriage before he came around with gay marriage, because everyone knew he was okay with it.
This is backward.
But this is completely backwards. Can we just throw the quote up for one more second? Because it's really important to understand what he's having his people say. This psychoactive, addictive drug is not accepted as safe medical use at this time, even with medical supervision. I mean, I know people that are using marijuana for medical reasons, and also I know plenty of people that smoke pot. I've never, truly never, and someone is welcome to correct me in the comment section, I've never seen someone addicted to pot.
No.
George Carlin used to do something about how, one day most people that smoke pot, they're like, all right, I'm done smoking pot, and they stop smoking pot. Or they're like, you know what, I smoke pot every day, now I'm gonna smoke it once a month. And
yeah.
So what, I just don't get, so what is, this is about votes? Because the votes are showing that most people actually at this point are okay with medical marijuana, so what is he up to?
Lobbying interests? I mean, the article you gave me was, I think, equivocating marijuana to heroin?
Well, that's what the Schedule I classification, that's what they're doing.
People aren't prostituting themselves over pot and quitting their jobs and losing their families and ravaging their health and their appearances. It's
no, they're just buying Doritos.
But just to be very clear, that's
and
not
that
from
helps
the
economy.
Yeah. But just to be very clear, that's not from the article that I'm sending you. That's the way the government is classifying it. That's the government. Yeah.
It's so weird. Well, there's other ways to interpret this, because there are a lot of people who are trying to get into the medicinal marijuana growing industry and the recreational drug industry, like people in Colorado and Washington. The problem is, like, for them, they're like, yeah, we're allowed to grow it, we're allowed to sell it. The money we get from it, we can't put in banks because of all the federal laws.
Right.
All of that, it still can be construed the opposite way, which is Obama is telling us that it's okay, states do what you want, but there's another way to interpret it where it's like, he's telling us that, but he's still trying to end medicinal marijuana use and recreational drug use a different way, getting him at the banks.
Right, precisely. So that quote right there is a direct attack on medicinal marijuana. So he's pretending that he's being cool with marijuana, not just the recreational side, but he's actually attacking the medicinal side. And that's the part that I just simply don't understand.
And honestly, I think that's a way to win the battle against Obama, is just kind of be like, guilt him into being like, I thought we were cool, buddy. And just to be like, you used to be the cool dad, and now you're being kind of a dick.
So is truly what's going on here that Big Pharma, which obviously gives a lot of money to politicians, and nobody's above being bought, and even as a second-term president with only 2 years left, that he's still at the whim of people that have given him a lot of money. And since there isn't big money yet behind weed, I think there will be, and especially as it gets passed more recreationally, and eventually Starbucks or somebody's going to come in, and you're going to be able to get weed at a chain store. But until then, politicians lead from behind.
The other way, I mean, look at heroin, right? Heroin is classified as a class Schedule I, which is like, I mean, try to keep to a schedule after you've done heroin, am I right? But then you can still get morphine. Morphine
Right.
is a pharmaceutical version of it. That's okay. So
Right.
by saying medicinal marijuana, maybe he's distinguishing from whatever synthetic, THC derivative is going to be sold by Eli Lilly and Merck and the people who are paying for that statement to get
Right.
made.
All right. So final thought on this. You don't smoke weed, right?
No.
Do you fear weed?
No.
And do you fear that someone that is sick, that is smoking weed to help themselves, that's somehow going to infringe on your personal rights or destroy your life
I
in
really
any way?
don't see how it could, Dave.
Well, this segment is ending right there. There, you see what you did?